So this net present value inside of capital budgeting is one of the tools that we're going to use. It's one of the tools that we've discussed, and one of these tools is the net present value. So the net present value is very similar to all the other net present values that we've done, but we're going to walk through it anyway. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to start this process by talking about the main difference. Okay. Now, capital budgeting works the same way as we've already discussed. You make an initial investment of $250 million, and then you have these potential cash flows that could happen in the future. Well, net present value is nothing more than calculating your regular present value. Now, before we actually do any calculations, what we have to first notice is that, what we have to first notice is that these cash flows are not payments. Okay, they are not payments. Why aren't they payments? They're not payments because none of them are the same. What they are cash flows. And as we've discussed, cash flows are irregular, or they're irregular in this case. They're uneven cash flows. So we have to discount them one at a time. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take this 35 and we're going to discount it back to time period 0. Okay? And so this isn't anything different that we did in chapter 3 or chapter 4, chapter 3 really, except that here we have this initial investment. And before at time period 0, we only had a 0. Now we have an initial investment of $250. So that's not different at all, right? So we're going to take this 35 and I'm going to discount it back. I'm going to take that 35 cash flow on top and I'm going to discount it by 1 plus R to the, in this case, to the 1. But I haven't set up an R yet, okay? So we're going to follow the book, and we're going to say that R is going to be equal to 18%. What does that mean? It means that our firm, whoever it is, whatever the firm is saying, look, we are a really nice firm. We do a bunch of fantastic things. And so we're not even going to consider a project that doesn't give us at least 18% return. So therefore, we're going to consider that all our projects should be discounted at 18% return. And for the purposes of this class, that's going to, if I ask you to calculate net present value, that's going to be a gimme. Okay. We're not going to make it difficult. And when we go the other way, we'll talk about internal rate of return in a minute. They're very related. Anyway, I'm going to give you the 18%. Here's the 18%, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to discount this at, I'll erase it and write it again, 1 plus 0.18 to the 1. And I'm going to discount that back to time period 0. Same thing with the 80. I'm going to take the 80. Let's do a different color. Yep. I'm going to take the 80, and it's going to be 80 over 1 plus 0.18. But I'm discounting it back 2 periods, right? 1, 2 periods. And so that's going to be 1.18 squared. And I'm going to discount it back to here. And then the 130, same thing. I'm going to discount it back to time period whatever. And the 160 gets discounted back. None of this should be a real surprise here. And the 5th one also gets discounted back. And let me see if I can match up the color schemes here. So this is going to be 29.7 discounted back, and the 80 discounted back 2 periods will be 57.5, and year 3 will be 130, so that's going to get discounted back to 79.1, and my light purple, my magenta, I hope I got magenta, that doesn't look like magenta is going to be 82.5. If I scroll up a little bit here to give me some space, I go to my brick red, and that's going to be 76.5. And then I add all of these up. So this is exactly what we did before, except that when I add these up here, I have to take into account my initial investment. And my initial investment happens to be negative. Here it is, negative 250 million. So I'm going to add all these up, and I'm technically going to subtract these by, adding them up, and my total value down here at the bottom becomes an NPV of $75.3 million. Now, when we take an NPV, our basic NPV decision is whether or not the NPV is greater than 0. And if it is, then here's a little check mark. Check. we accept the project. In this case, our NPV is 75.3 million, so we accept the project. And it is that simple. That's all we're going to do there. Now, we can turn around and, you know what, I was going to do a different one, but as long as we have time, I'll go ahead and do it now. Let me bring up a calculator. Let me bring up our trusty old financial calculator, and let's see if I can do this just right. Oh, but you need to see the display. There we go. All right. So let's go. Let me see if I can scroll back up here to my cash flows. My cash flows are going to be, so for the first thing I'm going to do is, note that I have payments per year at 12. So I'm going to change that to 1 shift payments per year. So I have 1 payment per year. And then instead of using my cheat sheet up here at the top, I'm going to use my cash flows. So my first cash flow is 250 negative cash flow. And you'll notice that my cash flows are, this is a little confusing. My initial cash flow is 250 or negative 250. This is weird. Let's see what happens here. Let's just keep going. Negative 250. I'm going to do that 1 time. So my next amount is 35. Enter. Oh, and I'm going to do that 0 times, or the 1 time. Okay, so I'm going to add another cash flow. My next cash flow is, wait, no, this needs to be 35. It's 1 time. The next cash flow is 80. This happens 1 time. There we go. I guess I have to expand this out a little bit so you can see it. That happens 1 time. That happens 1 time. This is kind of a weird little deal. My next cash flow is 130. That's going to happen 1 time. And then I'm going to add another one. This is weird. This isn't going to be the way you do it on your calculator. We'll figure out another way to do this so you can see it more clearly. 160, and I'm going to do that 1 time. And my final cash flow, 160, not 161. And my final cash flow is 175, and that's going to happen 1 time. So now, this is a great example here. If I can zoom in on this. If I have $250 million here is my initial investment, and then I have these series of cash flows that come later, 35, 80, 130, 160, 175. Okay, so now I'm going to go back because that's all inputted into my calculator, and I'm going to make an interest of 18. And cancel that. 18 for my interest, and I'm going to solve for net present value. And you can tell up here my net present value is 75.26, which if I look at my net present value up here on the board, switching over, my net present value is 75.3 million, and my calculator has the exact same result, 75.3.